everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Everything College Basketball Podcast, episode 162. I'm, of course, your host, Josh Burton, and joining me today are a pair of my teammates, Mr. Peyton Burton, and a special guest. He's been on with us before. Love him to death, Mr. Michael DeRosa from the Ding and DeRosa podcast and our friends over at the Road to the Garden. Fellas, we have now made it through officially 1 week of the college basketball season. A lot to talk about. Arizona proved that they are amongst the top tier in college basketball this year, but it feels so good to have the first official week of college basketball in the books. How are we feeling today?
I feel pretty damn good. I just woke up from a nap, so I feel even better than how. I was up late last night playing OG Fortnite, so I didn't have time to take any notes. I'm sorry. Listen, there's over 5 million people playing that damn game right now. It's back, baby. Let's go. But, dude, college basketball's back, and the first week slate of games were very, very impressive, even though you had people from different media outlets saying otherwise. I'm not going to speak to them. Fuck them. But I think overall the slate of games were pretty damn good. We saw a lot of upsets. We saw a lot of physical battles that we'll talk about later in this episode. But overall, I feel pretty damn good.
If you would have asked me Friday night, I would have felt a little better than I would have felt on Saturday. But that's how you know the season's back. As soon as you experience the first, oh, God damn it. That's how you know the season's really back. And I would have given a lot to feel that sort of feeling that I felt so much over the last few years, just the remembering of, God damn, my team still do suck. So I would have given a lot to feel that one. Yeah.
You want that disappointment back, I see.
Yeah. It's kind of like a part of me that I was missing. So I need it to function normally.
Yeah. Well, we're going to talk about that. Well, at least one of your teams is off to a 2-0 start, but the other one, a little bit of a letdown. We'll get to all that. Before we get anything else, take some care of some housekeeping here. As always, this podcast is brought to you in part with the House of College Hoops. Head over to our site, house-enterprise.com, for more information. You're going to find us over there. You're going to find the Ding of DeRosa. You're going to find all the work from the Road to the Garden and so much more covering the sport from top to bottom. Head over to house-enterprise.com for more information. And also, we dropped it, Trevor and I, on the Thursday edition on the midweek. Officially, ECB has partnered up with ShotQualityBets.com as a title partnership this season for the Everything College Basketball brand. Shot Quality Bets is amazing. It's going to help you with your betting lines in particular, but it's got so many breakdowns that you're going to hear throughout the course of the year from us, as far as breakdowns of who posts up better, who defends the post up, who catch and shoot threes, all these different intricate detailed stats that will help you translate your predictions and previews better and your betting better over at shotqualitybets.com. Head over now, use the promo code ECB for 10% off your first month. I promise you, if you are a stat junkie like all of us who love this sport and cover it, it is the place to be for that detailed breakdowns that you want. And for your betting lines, head over to shotqualitybets.com, use promo code ECB, get 10% off your first month. Fellas, we talked about it a little bit just there at the beginning, but the first week of college basketball has officially wrapped today as we record on Sunday. When you take a grander look at the first week, obviously there was some quote-unquote bye games. There was some upsets. There was some massive games we're going to talk about from this last Friday night. When you look at week one as a whole, what are your thoughts now that we are 1 week into the college basketball season?
James Madison is a tournament team. I really like this squad. I wrote about them in the magazine. I had them finishing second to Southern Miss. With that battle between them and Southern Miss for the Sun Belt Conference is going to be very, very entertaining to watch this season. I think they're a tournament team. Obviously, they upset Michigan State in overtime on night one. Then they go around and come back and beat Kent State in incredible fashion in double overtime. That game was wild. I went back and watched that ending, and holy shit, what an ending to that game. They hit a three, down two, the dude pushes off, gets his offensive charge called on him, and then they get a wide open layup to send it into the first overtime. James Madison, to me, is the talk of the town right now in college basketball, and I think they deserve it because they're really fucking good, and I think they have a chance to win the Sun Belt this year.
Well, and DeRosa on that point, Peyton mentioned the first two games are against high-level opponents on the road. Michigan State, top 5 team in our poll and the AP poll. Consensus a Final Four team in a lot of people's eyes. They go there, get the win. Then they go to a very good Kent State team that I covered in the MAC and the preview in the magazine. And Kent State's going to challenge for a MAC regular season crown and a tournament championship. And they come away 2-0 in true road games. James Madison's legit this year, it looks like.
Yeah, that Kent State squad is good too. Like they bounced back against Fresno 2 days later and they smoked them. Jalen Sellinger's a bucket, but that James Madison team is really good. You like, as you guys mentioned, 2 tough road games. They looked at both, and I had Michigan State as my number 2 team in the country coming into the season. I will not have them as my number 2 team coming into the country when we do our next bowl. So, yeah.
Well, that leads me into this when we do look around at week 1. And again, we've talked about the overreactions and all this other stuff, but through the first week, besides James Madison, because we're all at the consensus there, what other teams have stood out that you can kind of lean on and say, man, they had a great week this week, a potential like team of the week, quote unquote, because there is James Madison. I've got a few more. I think Arizona belongs in that conversation, obviously. I think Tennessee, not because necessarily the opponents, the Wisconsin win, as we're going to talk about on Friday night, was a good one because you just do not go into Wisconsin and win a lot of times. And I think Michigan, because they played 2 mid-majors, but 2 teams that are – one was in the NCAA tournament last year. One, again, I covered in Youngstown State that's really good, that's going to challenge in the Horizon League. And Michigan put up almost 100 in both games and looks damn good. So I guess that would be my quote-unquote 4 teams of the week this week. But I want to hear your guys' thoughts on potential teams of the week outside of James Madison.
Go ahead, Darissa.
Yeah, you mentioned Arizona. I mean, after beating Duke, that's going to be a big one for me. Creighton's offense looks really good. It looks really fucking like right now. They played nobody, but I believe in the first 2 games, they've probably combined to hit over 33s. So that's pretty good.
I didn't even recognize Baylor Shireman with his haircut now.
Yeah, they're filthy.
Don't mess with the flow. Don't cut it. Dude, I'm envious of people who can grow their hair out and stuff. Don't cut the flow. Don't cut it. But go ahead.
Dude, look, I mean, you can look at my hair like, damn, dude, I need a haircut for so long, but it's like, I'm not going home until Thanksgiving break, which is coming up soon, but I can't cheat on my barber, but this thing is a mop. Look at God, I've had to wear a hat over this thing for almost a month and change, for sure. So
I'll take my beanie off and show you. Mine's growing.
Yeah. Let's see. So yeah, I hit Creighton, Arizona. Let's see. Is there another team? There was someone else that stood out to me that I just can't think off the top of my head. Yeah. I'll have to get back to you on that one.
Well, mine would have been Oregon if they didn't lay an egg in the last game. I thought they played very well against Georgia. A team that I'm going to keep my eye on for the rest of the season. They're 2-0. They just got a decent win against a Big Ten opponent, and that's Davidson. They just beat Maryland on Friday in a new start game. They're 2-0. I think they got Clemson next, which is actually today. I don't know what time that game starts tonight. I'll be very intrigued to see how that game plays out. But I think they got a good squad. They're going to compete in the A-10 this season, and I think that's a team to watch out for.
Oh, BYU, too. They beat a San Diego State team that, is coming off a national title bid. So that's a pretty good win. They look like they actually have a point guard this year, and it was Jaren Hall, which is a huge, huge upgrade because they did not have a point guard last year. Having one this year kind of changes a lot of things they can do. And maybe they can do more in the Big 12 than some people might have expected, particularly at home.
Well, and that's a good point because Peyton was in charge of the Big 12 in the magazine, and we talked about BYU's transition, and he just thought that they would struggle. But this is a massive win heading into the Big 12 in a month where, the conference is going to be loaded. It does raise some questions about San Diego State, which brings me to the next point. The disappointing teams of the week in the first week of college basketball. I think we got to throw Michigan State on there because
100%.
They had the loss to James Madison, which we think at the end of the year is not going to be that bad of a loss because we just talked about how good James Madison's going to be. But then they followed up. They win comfortably in the end, but they did not play well against Southern Indiana at home again a couple nights later. And this Michigan State offense looks very distorted. They can't shoot the ball. I think they're shooting 6.5% from 3 as a collective through 2 games. If Tyson Walker doesn't score the basketball, who the hell is going to score for Michigan State right now? So I think Michigan State has been a big disappointment through the first week of the season.
Now,
Yep.
you go. You
No,
can
you go. You got it. I was just
Man.
doing.
I got so many. All right, let's start here. You mentioned Davidson for good teams, Maryland for bad teams. Maryland's a team I thought was top 25 team coming into the country. I still think they're like going to end in the top 25, or at least be there at some point. But my God, you can't lose that game to Davidson. Their defense was all out of sorts. Offensively, they don't have the shooters that I thought they could at least have had something from deep. I still think they beat UAB today, but man, they looked bad. Rutgers losing to Princeton. Derek Simpson in particular, I thought he was going to break out. He has not broken out yet. DePaul went 0-2 against 2 cupcakes. You at least expect something out of them. They gave you nothing.
Got blown out last night or Friday night, wasn't it?
Yeah, like they can't stop a dribble drive. Georgetown losing to Holy Cross, that's bad. And Cal losing to Pacific. That was a Cal team I'm high on. You get Jalen Tyson back off the waiver. You can't lose to Pacific. That is a bad Pacific team. And they just did not look good ever. Even at some points they took the lead, and it's like, all right, they're gonna finally settle into this game. No, they blew it. So man, I could keep going. There are a lot of teams that did me wrong in week 1, but I think those are the ones I'm going to sit on for now.
I got a couple.
Vanderbilt as well.
Yeah.
Can't lose the Presbyterian at home.
Yeah.
I know they had 3 of their top guys out, but you can't lose the Presbyterian at home.
Yeah.
I got a couple. We just talked about the Big 12. One of the teams that's been disappointing to me is Kansas State so far. I know they don't have Naquan Tomlin as of now. I know he's out. But they lost. They got beat up by USC. And USC is a very talented squad. I forgot to mention them and like one of the good teams to talk about. I think they're going to be really, really damn talented, really damn good this season. And it's going to be very fun to watch. A very fun team to keep your eye on and watch throughout the season, especially when the Pac-12 conference starts here soon. But they lost to USC 82-69, and they struggled against a Bellarmine squad who they had down by almost 20 points at one point and allowed them to come back in and make it a game. They end up winning 83-75. I think they got South Dakota State on Monday, and then they got Providence on the next Friday. I think in order for them to compete in the Big 12, I had them ranked 6 anyways, and that was before the whole Naquan Tomlin news and everything else that was playing in part of that. I think Jerome Tang's a hell of a coach. I think by like mid-December, like early January, I think he'll start to figure it out, but I still have a lot of concerns about their depth and what's going to happen if Tyler Perry can't go get them buckets for them.
Yeah, I think that's a great shout. And I want to transition to the next phase. And I have it listed in our format as the Big Ten struggles. But when you look at those standings through 2 games for a lot of these teams, there's nobody 0-2. Most of them's 2-0, and the other part are 1-1. So if you look at just standings alone and win-loss record, you'd think, well, why are you talking about struggles? Well, this is a conference, again, that has come in with high hopes with teams that they feel like can get to the Final Four. And a conference that is deprived of a national champion since Michigan State did it in 2000. So you hear the Big Ten folds and march conversations every year. You look at the KenPom rankings through the first week, they are ranked 3rd by a considerable amount behind the Big 12 and the SEC as far as conference rankings go. And you look at the way that these teams are performing, I think is concerning through the first week. Again, it's an overreaction. I'm fully aware of that. But Michigan State, we just talked about 1-1, lose at home to James Madison, follow it up with a relatively shitty performance against Southern Indiana at home. Now the schedule gets even harder this upcoming week for Michigan State. You talked about Maryland losing to Davidson. You talked about Rutgers losing to Princeton. Even Indiana, they're 1-0. Their first game against Florida Gulf Coast without their best player, they did not look well in that game. So when we look at the Big Ten through the first week of action, there are the Michigans who are popping up who's looked good through 2 games, and Purdue, of course. But when you look at the Big Ten as a whole, is this going to be another one of these years where they have maybe 1 elite team in Purdue, maybe 2 if Michigan State writes the course, and then a bunch of okay to solid teams that ultimately fail in the NCAA tournament? What do we think of the Big Ten through the first week? Again, I know it's overreactions.
Coming into the season, I had Purdue and Michigan State as my 1-2 and a definitive gap after that. Michigan looks better than I expected. Maryland, I had 3rd in the conference, I believe, and they look a lot worse than I expected, but I think they're going to put it together. I still think Deshaun Harris-Smith's an NBA player. But if you're looking at it just from that perspective of like Big Ten week 1, what's the Big Ten's best win? Is it Michigan over UNC Asheville? Like, there's a good claim for that. Yeah, it probably has to be. So they lose a couple big games. Like you lose Tennessee was able to knock off Wisconsin. A&M was able to knock off Ohio State. You look at some of the other bigger games that the conference had. They haven't won any of them yet. So it's rough week. But yeah, I never had real like big time hopes for a lot of these teams aside from Michigan State and Purdue. So we'll see.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think very soon we'll find out that Purdue and Michigan State will be the class of the field. Everything behind them, it's going to be a lot of uncertainty, and I don't know how the rest of the conference plays out. You mentioned Indiana struggled against Florida Gulf Coast, who's a pretty decent team as itself. But I think in Iowa, I mean, they're 2-0. Michigan's definitely had one of the best wins. Michigan State, obviously, we talked about them earlier. Illinois struggled a little bit in their last game. Wisconsin obviously just got beat up by Tennessee the other night. I think the rest of the conference needs to step up, and Michigan State and Purdue is definitely the class of the field.
Completely agree. And there's going to be opportunities upcoming week. We're going to talk about Big Ten goes into the Gavitt games against the Big East. So there's going to be opportunities for big time wins within that conference. But let's look back. Friday night was by far the best night of this week. Obviously the best night of college basketball in this early season. We had so many quality games on Friday night where I know I and a lot of you had multiple screens pulled up, whether it be the YouTube TV 4-box screen,
Awesome.
also with a laptop, with a cell phone. I had so many TVs and screens pulled up to watch these games. Let's dive into it. The biggest game so far this year, Arizona, number 12 in the ECB poll, went into Cameron Indoor Stadium, ranked number 2 in the country with Duke in the ECB poll to play this mega game, night number 2 for both of these ball clubs. And what a damn performance it was. I think the thing, fellas, that stood out to me most in this game, 2 things. Both teams are legit as hell, and both teams are better defensively at this stage than I thought they would be. Arizona goes into Cameron Indoor, picks up a massive quad 1 victory, 78-73. Initial reactions from both of you of Arizona's massive road victory.
It's maybe an overreaction, but watching this game, and I posted it on my Twitter, and Josh, I know you shared it, and the ECB Twitter, we tweeted it. I think all around, Kellen Boswell is Arizona's best player. Tell me something this dude don't do, especially on Friday. I mean, he played everything. He was all around the floor. He scored the basketball. He defended well. He had rebound. He stayed out of foul trouble for the most part. He had 0 fouls, actually. He stayed out of foul trouble really damn good. 12 points, 4 of 7 from the field, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 turnover. Had a couple key steals later in the game. I'm pretty sure he was the one that stripped Tyrese Proctor when he was going to the rim and not allowed for a transition 3 for Arizona. I thought this kid played very well. Omar Ballo is obviously a force inside. He always will be. But Kellen Boswell is one of my favorite players to watch this season, and I think all around he's Arizona's best player.
Boswell was excellent in the first game. He was incredible. He really controlled that game, and he has shown he has taken that sophomore year jump that so many people expected. He's shown like he is legit there. Keyshawn Johnson, too. He's just he's a better scorer for this team than he was at San Diego State. I thought he would have just translated 1-for-1. He might even look better than he did at San Diego State. So, and with that Arizona team, they only played 8 guys in this game, but all 8 guys played over 10 minutes, and they all looked good. Like they can go a legit 8 deep, and they're not going to like get worse for it. Like Krivas off the bench is probably their 8th man. And he had, 6.6 boards. He looked good inside, made a couple good passes, did enough. Jaden Bradley off the bench, KJ Lewis off the bench had big roles. So Arizona can go a legit 8 deep. They're skilled everywhere. And for Duke, you need a third option behind Filipowski and Roach. Those guys looked awesome. Proctor didn't have a great game. I think he's better than he played. Mark Mitchell's jump shot looks broke, but again, I still think those guys are going to step up. Jared McCain, smooth jumper, but he's a freshman, and Duke had fucking nothing off the bench. They had nothing. The Ryan Young minutes did not work. I've been saying that for years that they should not work, and they did all last year. Then in this game, Arizona just defended him the way you should, which is just I don't need to guard him anywhere inside of the lane, and I got a bigger guy than him. Good luck. So. You need more off the bench. You need more than those 2 guys from Duke, but I think they'll figure it out. I'm not worried about this Duke team in the slightest.
Well, that's a couple of great points you just made. You look at Arizona, their starting 5 all in double figures, nobody higher than 14. Johnson 14, Love 11, Boswell and Pella Larson 12, and Omar Ballo 13. All 8 guys who played scored. So balanced scoring depth, sharing the basketball. They out-rebounded Duke 45-33 in this ball game, and I'm with you on Duke. Roach 17, Filipowski 25. Not a whole lot from everybody else. Proctor 8, Mitchell 9, McCain 9. And then the other big-time freshman, Sean Stewart, through 2 games, he's not really played a whole lot. He played 3 minutes in this ball game, had 2 points. So I'm wondering if Coach Shire is just like, he's got to earn his time. This is a deeper team, talented team. I don't know what the deal is there, but Sean Stewart was a highly ranked recruit and he's barely playing. So very interesting watching that develop throughout the course of the year. But damn, Arizona defensively, both teams, talking about the defense, they just decided we're not, when the big guy, whether it be Filipowski or it would be Omar Ballo or whoever, catches the ball above the free throw line, we're just going to sag. We're just going to play basically like a one-man zone sag because they're not looking to shoot that. And they're just going to look to pass, and we don't have to guard them, so we can guard the cuts through the lane. We can talk through screens. Incredible IQ on both coaches there to just sag off non-shooters as big men. The physicality stood out in this game. How physical was this game for both teams? On-ball defense, very physical. Off-ball, checking the screens, off the dribble handoffs, off of the hedging the screens. Very physical game, and I think it lended itself to this back-and-forth affair. I think ultimately what it came down to is, as you mentioned, Duke did not have a third option step up to really help Roach and Filipowski, and I think it came down to the rebounding. Arizona walked in, like I said, 45 to 33 on the glass here. They had 15 offensive rebounds. 15. Krivas had 4 off the bench himself. So I think Arizona, the fact that I think the knock's always been on them under Tommy Lloyd is they're incredibly offensive. Like incredible, but the defense lets them down in a lot of cases. It looks like Arizona's learned to play some defense, and if that's the case, I think Arizona looks like a team that could potentially make a Final Four.
2 things that I want to talk about on this Duke-Arizona game. One thing I want to talk about Caleb Love real quick. He had 11 points, 3 of 10 from the field, 1 of 5 from the three-point line. He had 3 rebounds, 3 assists. We had 6 turnovers. Got to clean that shit up. He didn't play. I'm not going to say he played bad, but I'm also not going to say
he thought he played good
either. 6 turnovers, though, as a starting point guard in a game like this, that cannot happen. Come on now.
Here's where I understand that, and you're right, but where I'll counter it is, look how hard he played defensively. Yeah, I thought we got good I thought we got good Caleb Love, and he made some key plays down the stretch, including the free throws to pretty much ice the game. I thought Caleb Love was pretty much locked in, and it's one of those deals, kind of like we talked about Rob Dillingham at Kentucky. If he's going to play that hard, I think you can just live with the turnovers. Even though he's got to clean them up, I think you live with turnovers. He's going to give you that type of effort night in and night out.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely think he was locked in. I definitely think defensively he stepped up, something that he didn't do last year at all for North Carolina, or really the past 2 years. But one thing I really want to talk about is a big key. You mentioned the physicality in this game, and maybe I'm overreacting, so I'm willing to give that up. But Kyle Filipowski played amazing, 25 points, 8 rebounds. He had 4 fouls. He was in foul trouble. Josh, we talked about this, and this is a very small sample size. That's why I'm saying this is maybe an overreaction. We talked about the last 4 years, like a Drew Timme, like when he's playing against teams who are physical with him, he tends to shy away, and also he gets in a lot of foul trouble. Do you think, and obviously we've seen it last year in the tournament against Tennessee, he got cut up pretty bad. That was a very physical game. They ended up losing that one as well, and he was in foul trouble. Same kind of deal in this Arizona game. They were physical for him. He obviously played very well, but again, he was in foul trouble. It's small sample size, but do you raise concerns of if he plays a team that's physical with him, like Arizona or Tennessee, do you think him staying out of foul trouble is a big key for him?
Well, I mean, of course. And DeRosa, I think you would agree with this as well. I mentioned it on the ECB Twitter during the course of the game with the physicality. The Arizona's playing Duke like Tennessee did in the tournament when Tennessee knocked them out in the second round. And Filipowski, despite all the foul trouble, still had 25 points, as you mentioned, Peyton. So I think that's maturity in his end. But I do think there is a blueprint there, fellas, that to play Duke, to knock them off their game, just get physical with them.
Yeah.
Make the referees call fouls, bump him off the spot. Do not let him back you down and get good post position. Make him catch the ball off the block if possible. And then I think your chances of stopping him go up significantly. But yes, I think if you play Duke from here on out, try your best to get physical with them, because a finesse game, they're going to carve you up. But if you've got the horses inside, especially, oh boy, get physical with them. Make them go to work and really take it out on both ends.
Oh yeah, you got to bully him. You got to bully him just as much as you can. I mean, if you can bully Filipowski, he's not the biggest guy out there. That's huge helpful. And they're going small ball around him. Mark Mitchell's the 4. I still think there's a little bit to prove with him there. And if you get Filipowski in foul trouble like he did in this game, the guys they're putting behind him, Reeves and Young, Ryan Young you're going to need a decent bit out of him off the bench because I think he would allow Filipowski to play the 4 at times, give you some more matchups. So, but yeah, if you can get Filipowski out of the game, I think that's going to create a lot of problems for Duke until the other guys prove that they can be legit, which I think in time they will. But for now, they have not yet.
Completely agree. Good win for Arizona. Duke's going to be all right. They've obviously got a tough matchup we'll talk about against Michigan State on Tuesday up in Chicago. But I think Duke showed a lot even in a loss. Arizona showed a little bit more, and I think they're real contenders if they play defense like this to make a Final Four. I think this is Tommy Lloyd's best team because they do play defense. And full disclosure, when I submit my ballot for the ECB poll today and the House of College Hoops poll, Arizona's going in my top 5. I don't think you can deny that at this point. Let's move on to another big game from Friday night. Tennessee went up to the Kohl Center where everybody knows Wisconsin is a tough out at home. Tennessee walks away with an 80-70 victory. It was a back and forth affair for a majority of this game, but Tennessee really got a foothold late in the game and was able to pull away. The addition of Dalton Knecht from Northern Colorado is massive for Tennessee because my concerns for Rick Barnes' Tennessee teams over the years, they're elite defensively. You won't find too many ball clubs that play defense better than Tennessee does, but it's scoring. It's consistent scoring, particularly shooting from outside. They did not shoot well from 3 in this game, 5 of 17 for 29%, but Dalton Knecht gives them a versatile 3-level score that when they need a big bucket late in the shot clock, late in the game, divine a play to break up a run from another team, Dalton Knecht has proven through 2 games he is that guy. 24 points, 7 of 11 from 2, 1 of 4 from 3, 7 of 9 from the foul line, chipped in 5 rebounds, 2 assists as well. The addition of Dalton Knecht spreads the offense for everybody to get Santiago Vescovi more shots, even though he had 5 points. Jemai Meshack, like this Jordan Gainey coming off the bench, 10 points is a double-figure score. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think with Dalton Knecht and Tennessee's ability to score the basketball apparently now, I think Tennessee's the real deal now. For people who don't understand and don't pay attention to Big Ten country as much as we do since we're in the area, Wisconsin is one of the top 10 toughest places to go get a victory, and Tennessee made it look relatively easy at times. Tennessee's the real deal, I think.
Yeah, you mentioned it, how tough it is to go into the Kohl Center and beat Wisconsin. Indiana still hasn't beat them in the last 20 years or whatever the hell it's been. It's been a long
1998.
1998. It's been a long ass drought that Indiana has went into that building and still haven't come out in victory. So that alone should just tell you how difficult it is to play in the Kohl Center and beat them, and let alone score 80 points on them. Tennessee, I thought, played very well. I agree with everything Josh just said. I think if their offense can match their defensive intensity, then I do think Tennessee will be a very talented and a very good squad, and I think they definitely can win the SEC conference this year. But this is something they got to do consistently. They can't go score 80 points and then go score 60 points and expect to win. I think if they can continue to score the basketball like this, I think Tennessee will be very hard out, and I like this Tennessee squad.
Yeah, I want to see a Tennessee defend a more dynamic offense than Wisconsin. Wisconsin is a good offense, and they're playing a lot faster this year, which is definitely something to note. But at the same time, when AJ Storr is taking 20 shots a game, and I like AJ Storr, I think anyone who watched any of the Big East stuff I did last year knows I really liked AJ Storr. But if he's taking 20 shots a game, I feel like Wisconsin's going to be in a little bit of trouble. But their starting 5 is really balanced. Tyler Wall's really good, Stephen Crowell, Chucky Hepburn, and you have Connor Segan off the bench when he's fully healthy and ready to play. That's a good 6 with Max Kleesman starting. So I think Wisconsin's still a good team. I'm not worried about Wisconsin, but man, if Dalton Knecht is going to be that good offensively, it's say goodbye, man. Tennessee's going to be really good. There are definitely some questions defensively with Knecht, but if they're getting everything offensively, they're going to be really good. And you mentioned it off the bench with Gainey. Ziegler's not even fully healthy. He's not even fully ready to play yet. Yep. So when they get him back, that's another element to this offense. This team as a whole, really. So Tennessee's going to be good, man. They're not frauds.
And That's exactly what I was going to say. Zakai Ziegler's still coming off the ACL injury. They're obviously monitoring his minutes, so slowly working back in. Played 19 in this game, got 5 points, 3 assists, and a couple rebounds. Once he gets his footing back and gets back in that starting rotation, I don't know who he's going to replace. Maybe Meshack. Yeah, probably Meshack. Well, now you're taking a scorer, Meshack, who second half of last year showed the ability to really step up in big games. I mean, this is a deep Tennessee team. You got Freddie DeLeon the fifth, who was a high 4-star level prospect, barely playing in ball games. Same with Cade Phillips. They combined for 10 minutes in this game. You get the further the season goes along and these guys start to get more experience, Tennessee could legitimately go 10 deep and not skip a beat hardly at all. The one thing I am concerned about Tennessee is, will they revert back as the SEC play begins with all the talented teams that they play, where the offense does have lulls in it, and the front court. So Jonas Adu is a monster of a man down low, protecting the rim, can catch in the lob. He's getting really good at back to the basket post-ups, but they don't have a rotation guy for him. You look at this roster, they will get much smaller when Adu goes out. He had 3 fouls in this game. If you can get Adu in foul trouble and make Tennessee go a little bit smaller, defensively, I think that's going to hurt them. Offensively, I mean, you take him out, you go small, put like a Jordan Gainey in, or Cade Phillips when he gets more adept, or Toby Awaka. Their offense might be better, but defensively, I think they're going to have trouble because Adu protects the rim for them. So good win for Tennessee. I think Tennessee is the real deal, that they've learned how to score the basketball. And I think Wisconsin's going to be all right. Once Esigian starts to get his footing back under him as well, I think they're going to be all right. But Tennessee looks like a top 5 ball club at the current state. Let's stay in the Big Ten and the SEC, ironically, here. Let's go up to Columbus, Ohio, where Texas A&M went into Value City Arena and bring out a win 73-66 over Ohio State. You know my thoughts on Texas A&M. Wrote about them. I love this team. They had 3 starters go for 20 points. Henry Coleman, 20, Tyrese Radford, and Wade Taylor in the backcourt, 21 apiece. And that was pretty much all their scoring, because they got the next highest was 4 points between Hayden Hefner and Anderson Garcia. When they're doing this and they're missing Julius Marble, I don't know what's going on there. Apparently some kind of suspension or something's going on with him. They're doing that without him, and they're going into a tough place to play and winning by 7. I think it shows you what Texas A&M can be. They are legit. They shot terrible from 3 too. 3 of 18. But man, how tough they are. They've got playmakers and Taylor and Radford. Coleman on the interior can score and defend. Good luck beating Texas A&M this year. It's going to be a battle every night.
I think coming into the season, obviously, Josh, you knew it because you wrote about them, and I knew it as well when I was looking at your preview of the SEC Conference and Texas A&M. But I think a lot of media outlets out there was kind of sleeping on A&M coming into the season. I think a lot of them had them ranked either like 4th, or some of them even had them 5th, I think. But if you think of the SEC Conference coming into this year, you really thought of 3 teams: Arkansas, Kentucky, and Tennessee. A lot of media outlets out there was kind of forgetting what Texas A&M did last year. They're also forgetting that they bring back a lot this year. You mentioned Henry Coleman, Wade Taylor III. I think a lot of this, I think they got a lot of talent. I love their guard play. Their front court and their experience matches up well with their guard play. I really like this A&M squad. I think they can do really good things. Buzz Williams is a hell of a freaking coach. And I mentioned it, I don't know what it was, a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, that given time, he's done it at every single stop. Given time, Buzz Williams, when he has years to really develop a squad and get things moving, his teams get better and better and better every single year. And I think they're a really good squad, and I think they have a chance to do really special things in the SEC Conference. Great win.
The jump shooting's a worry for me with this A&M team. They were 3 of 18 from 3, and they weren't like a great 3-point shooting team last year, all things considered. Like Wade Taylor and Tyrese Radford are both excellent guards, but they are downhill guards. So I think you're going to need someone to space the floor. But yeah, you guys mentioned it. This A&M team is very good. When you guys were talking them up, it's like, all right, I had to listen, because you're right. They returned like just about everybody. Like this team was a team that really, I mean, it was like 15-3 in the SEC, something like that, something crazy.
Yeah.
And
only a game behind Alabama.
Yeah. Granted, they had an easy schedule, but still, like 15-3 is 15-3. You can only beat who you play, and it ain't their fault who they were playing. So that's a good team. There were definitely some weaknesses, like Penn State exposed some weaknesses defensively, but this team's going to learn. They're going to get better from that, especially when you return everybody. It's going to happen for them. So they're a good team. Great win for them going into Ohio State. And for Ohio State, not real overreaction for me. I just think Bruce Thornton's still a bucket. They're going to get a little more. They're going to get better. Like, their guard's still pretty young. You need more out of Jamison Battle than 10 points. Like, if you bring him in, like, you need more than 10 points out of him. But yeah, good win for Texas A&M. That's a good team. Just want to see it consistently. But like you guys mentioned, this is a top 15 team in the country. I don't see how you can bring them down after this performance by any means.
And I'm with you. The jump shooting still scares me, but they're going to be in every ball game because how tough they are and defensively. And they've got a showstopper in Wade Taylor. Tyrus Radford in the backcourt with him. That's as good a 1-2 punch as you're going to find in the country as far as backcourt mates. And Jace Carter, the transfer from Illinois, Chicago, and Eli Lawrence coming in from Middle Tennessee State, did not really play well in this ball game. Eli Lawrence only played 6 minutes. Jace Carter had a few more in 18. They combined for 2 points. They are much better scorers than that. So there's going to be games where they step up and really help off the bench. A&M out-rebounding Ohio State 45-35 in this game. And look how crazy the stat line is. Radford and Wade Taylor both 21 points. You get a piece. You get 42 points from your backcourt. They both go 7 of 12 from 2-point land. Radford 1 of 5 from 3, Wade Taylor 1 of 9. So pretty much identical stat lines the entire night. And Wade Taylor only played 30 minutes. He had 4 fouls, so no foul trouble attributed to that. But A&M's just going to lock you up. And if they get Julius Marble back, it's only going to be better for them as far as the depth and the interior play goes. But A&M looks really good. Ohio State, that's a tough team. You can kind of excuse it. They did jump out to a 7-0 lead, so it could have went either way. But A&M, once they get their foothold in ball games defensively, they got showstoppers to close the deal. Good win for Texas A&M, top 15 ball club. Ohio State, I think, is going to be fine, but as you mentioned, they need way more from Jamison Battle, experienced guy in that conference alone coming into Ohio State this year. How about this one? I did not vote this team in our preseason top 25. Trevor was the only one who did. He blew them up, and I feel like I should have listened to him because Memphis goes into Missouri and pulls out a 15-point victory over the Tigers, 70-55, in a game they trailed by 14 points at one point in the first half, 29-15. Memphis, there's been called, I know jokingly, the granddad team because all the experience and the transfers they've got in this lineup. But holy shit, I think this is Penny Hardaway's best team. Javon Quinterly coming in from Alabama, 18 points. Jaquan Walton, 13. David Jones coming over from, who's DePaul, right? David Jones from DePaul?
Yeah. DePaul and St. John.
10 points. Caleb Mills from Houston at 8. Jordan Brown coming in from Louisiana, 12 points in this ball game. I think this is Penny's best team. His teams have always defended pretty well. They kept a high-flying Missouri offense to 55 points. And I think they've learned to score the basketball with all these veterans. I think Memphis is more than acceptable being in the top 25, maybe even the top 20 teams in the country. Great win because Missouri has shown that they are an offense that can really put up some numbers.
Yeah, this is a game I want to go back and I haven't watched it, so I want to go back and rewatch it. But you look at like the stat line, it's Missouri was 628 from 3. Part of that's got to be Memphis's defensive length. Like aside from Quinterly, they got a really long lineup. Like David Jones, Malcolm Dandridge, who like one of the weirder recruitments I've ever seen. But Jordan Brown played a lot too. Caleb Mills off the bench. They're long. They're going to be physical defensively, and this team has talent. You mentioned they're old as hell. Yeah, they are. So big win for Penny's team. This team is like they're old, they're talented. It's just a matter of can they really put it together offensively? Can they be a complete team? And can they not make some of the dumb mistakes that some Memphis teams in years past have made? With the veterans, probably they should not, but we'll see as the season progresses. But yeah, this team is good. Like that's a huge win going into Missouri and really making a statement.
I love the Quinterly at point guard too, because he gives them a change of pace and a scoring threat. And if you can bring a guy like Caleb Mills off the bench or a big and Jordan Brown to rotate in, you've got a pretty deep and experienced team. Peyton, Caleb Grill, we talked about him coming in from Iowa State. Thought he would really show up for Missouri. And in a ball game as big as this, he only had 6 points in 29 minutes. Are you disappointed in Caleb Grill through 2 games for Missouri?
Yes, very. He struggled last season, like second half of the year at Iowa State, and then some stuff happened, and then they somehow ended up getting better when he stopped playing, which is pretty damn funny. But no, Caleb, he's a phenomenal player. I mean, he has a lot of talent. He has a lot of like the intangibles you need to be a good player. But 2 of 11 for the field. He had 10 rebounds though, so I will give him credit for that. Even though the shots weren't falling, he was still playing hard, and he's still able to control the glass just a little bit and have 10 rebounds. But overall, these first 2 games, just watching him play, I think shots just aren't falling from him. I think his shot quality, no pun intended, needs to be a lot better. But I think he's a good player. I think given time, Dennis Gates will help him figure it out, and shots will start falling for him because I do think he has the talent to compete in the SEC this season.
Well, speaking of the SEC, this game was going on the exact same time as the Arizona Duke, Kentucky I was watching play. This was played out in Charlotte, North Carolina, in the home of the arena of the Charlotte Hornets, and this was a fun game. Virginia 73, Florida 70. These 2 teams traded the lead back and forth. It felt like a million times there in the second half. Virginia with a big win when I thought Florida was going to win this game. Blake Buchanan, the 6'11 freshman off the bench, 18 points, 7 rebounds. Virginia, they're going to do what Virginia does. Did not play a whole lot of guys. They played 8 guys in this ball game. And Reese Beekman, 13 points. He came up with the big steal there at the end when Florida was trying to get a shot off to tie it. 3 rebounds, 5 assists for Reese Beekman, the super senior. You look at Florida, Riley Kugel, 14, Walter Clayton, 12, Tyree Samuel. He's played well through 2 games, by the way, coming in from Seton Hall. He had 10 in this game. Will Richards, 16, and Micah Hamilton, 7-1 sophomore coming in from Marshall. All 5 starters in double figures. They got 4 points from the bench. They have to be better in that aspect. But I think both teams are really talented, really good, and I think they're going to surprise a lot of teams in both the ACC and the SEC. Both teams hit 7 threes in this game. Florida 7 of 25, Virginia 7 of 18, shot a much better percentage. Virginia did not shoot free throws very well. 14 of 24 for 58%. But all in all, Virginia's defense picked them up when they needed it the most. They've got talent. I think this team's a little better than what people like me preseason thought they would be. And I'm still very high on Florida's potential. I guess your guys' thoughts on this, because this was an incredible game to watch.
I really love watching Reese Beekman play. I think he's a great player, and he plays hard like every single time. Like, doesn't matter like who he's playing against, and if he's having a good game or not, he's always giving 100% effort, and I love to see that. He plays hard offensively. He's one of the best like defenders in the ACC conference, has been for the last couple of years. Overall, I just think Virginia, if the offense can step up more, I think they could be better than what they were these last couple of years. But the thing, I'm glad you went and did all the stats and stuff. I didn't really pay too much attention to this game because obviously I was watching the Duke-Arizona game. But the main thing I just want to talk about, I want to talk about ESPN analyst Corey Alexander. He called the review was completely done with. They already gave Virginia the ball. And then Corey Alexander, who's on the other side of the floor calling the game, calls the officials over to show them a different replay angle after they already completed their review. And it resulted in Virginia losing possession, and Tony Bennett was pissed. Across the court, he was yelling at him, and just rightfully so, because if they would have lost if they would have lost that game because of that bullshit, I would be livid as well. That is ridiculous. I just want to hear y'all's thoughts on that.
DeRosa, I don't know if you've seen the clip, but
I have. Yeah, give him the right angle. Just if you have an angle that changes the call, and we're going to take 15 minutes to review the goddamn thing anyway, just give it to him. It'll get it done quick, and we'll get the right call done. Reviews shouldn't take as long as they do. If ESPN's just going to be like, hey, look, we have an angle. This shit is clear as hell. Let's get the game going immediately. We need to normalize this more, if anything, honestly. I think we need to bring it up and bring it back more.
Oh, I like that. So you're taking Alexander's point of view. I was with Tony Bennett as being a coach myself. Dude, that could have changed the whole course of the game because Florida was getting the ball back to tie the game up.
We take 18 minutes to review everything anyway. If we got more angles that get the shit going faster and we get the right call, I'll take that every time. 100 times.
You're right. It was the right call. But if I'm Tony Bennett, I'm pissed too because the announcer's there to do his job to call the game, not affect their officials. He called the official over.
He called the official over. Like, what?
Yeah, he called the official over and like, hold on, look at this. And then Bennett seen it. It's like, what the fuck? Do your job. Do your job.
Oh, I'd be pissed if I was Bennett too. Don't get me wrong. I'd be pissed. I'd react the exact same way. Like, I'm not like anti Tony Bennett's take on this at all, but shit, we can do anything to expedite reviews, do that. So that's my take. And watchability.
That's hilarious. So I don't know if I've ever seen that to the point where the announcer affects the call. Like that's pretty funny, but that's a good win for Virginia. I think that they're going to have nights where they do not play well. Like they're not going to win the ACC, I don't think, but I think that this game showcased that they're still going to be a factor at the end of the year in this conference. And Florida, Micah Hanlogan, getting him from Marshall at 7-1, 7-2, whatever he is, he had 14 and 14. He's going to be a load. Once Riley Kugel and Will Richard really start to figure out the offensive end together, Tyree Samuel, it's funny, DeRosa, because when I talked to you about doing my Big East previews a couple months ago, and I mentioned Tyree Samuel to you, you're like, he didn't do shit at Seton Hall. He didn't do shit. Well, through 2 games of Florida, he's been really, really good for him.
Yeah, he didn't do much at Seton Hall. Like there was never like he was fine. There was never a point where like you're going up against Tyree Samuel, you're like, all right, this is a cakewalk. But we're never like, fuck, I gotta go against Tyree Samuel today. Like that's gonna like pull my hair out type shit. So he was all right, but he's looked good. They're running him at the 4. I think that honestly is helping him a little bit with Henlogton at the 5, but I don't know. I'm still not super high on this Virginia team. Like they admit they won, they look good. 7 of 18 from 3 definitely helps. And Reese Beekman is just a steady presence that really was able to win this game. Blake Buchanan off the bench, 10 of 16 from the line, was able to do a little bit of everything. That really helps. But I don't know. They lose the rebounding battle 47-30 to a Florida team that I don't think is going to be dominant on the glass. And I think Kugel and Clayton just had an off game, honestly. Like they just didn't play as well as they can. Part of that, you definitely have to credit Virginia's defense. It's Virginia. They're always going to defend their ass off. They're really good defensively, but I don't know. I'm not overreacting. I still like this Florida team quite a bit. Virginia's solid. They're going to, like, if you are going to play a bad game against Virginia, they're going to beat you. Just straight up. They're going to make you play a little worse. And if you play a bad game against them, you ain't playing perfect, they're going to win. So, I don't know. Give and take for me. Not really overreacting this game. Still really like Florida and Virginia. Solid. I still have some questions, but their backcourt is solid.
I'll tell you what, Josh, the next time or when it comes around to where we get to travel to Allen Fieldhouse and watch a Kansas game live and actually cover it, if I see a bullshit call, I'm just going to hop on YouTube TV, rewind it, and show it to the refs, and maybe the call would get overturned.
Yeah.
But I agree. Florida's a good team. Virginia, the offense got to step up, and the defense is always going to be there. So I agree with everything y'all said.
Yeah, the last thing on Florida, getting Walter Clayton in from Iona to run point guard, he did have 5 turnovers, but again, it is Virginia. He had 5 assists, 12 points in this ball game. Him running point to allow Kugel and Richard to kind of play on the wings to be able to spot up, shoot and stuff, I think is going to be huge for this team. So that's a great pickup. Let's round out some of these reviews, rapid fire style, with the one Thursday night that I was excited to watch, and it was the worst produced broadcast I've ever seen in my life on ESPN+. Number 21, St. Mary's 72, New Mexico 58. And St. Mary's controlled this game. I don't think they ever trailed in this ball game. Aiden Mahaney goes for 25. He had 21 in the first half. But what the hell is up with this production value? First, they had cameras all over the place. You could not hear the announcers through the entirety of the 40 minutes. Barely. It sounded like, the way I equated it is when you dropped your phone in the water and you pull it out real quick and you check, like you put a song on YouTube or Spotify and it like, will the sound right? And it's that muffled, like, take me higher. You know, it's like, this is an ESPN production. How is it this bad? Then they had the camera underneath the basket, or I think it was on the south end, literally show up on the broadcast, battery camera low. This was like it was produced by the 7th grade middle school technological team or whatever. This was awful.
Dude, we pay for E+. I mean, you have the camera not working. This is a top 15 St. Mary's team. This St. Mary's team is really good, and no Jalen House for New Mexico completely changes the game. But Man, and yeah, you mentioned the audio. It sounded like we were getting old, like wartime broadcasts. Like, oh,
I
they
know.
got no scores this season in the West Front, no scores this season in the West Front. Oh no, they're dancing the bunker. They're getting in the bunker. It was awful. Oh my god, it was. College basketball was really back at that point. I'm like, wow, the stupidity of the sport still exists. I paid
That was
money
so-
for that shit. I paid money
that
to
was-
watch that broadcast.
It was so bad. Like, you would have been better off just hitting your mute on your TV.
Oh yeah,
Because you
Oh,
couldn't
yeah.
hear the announcers anyways. But as far as the game goes, Aiden Mahaney is just a bucket. Like, that kid, 3-point shot with a hand in his face, attacking the rim. He is going to be phenomenal all year. I have him listed as, I think it was second team All-American in our preseason magazine. The kid's going to be phenomenal all year. I do worry about St. Mary's, though. If he's not hitting, where are the points going to come from? That's the one thing I worry about with St. Mary's. And New Mexico didn't have Jalen House. You could kind of tell their offensive flow was not there for a lot of the game. Jamal Mashburn Jr. is still a really good player. But I think both teams are going to be fine. But it's a shame we have to talk about the shitty broadcast instead of the game. But good win for St. Mary's.
The low battery play just fucking so funny to me. I love that. But yeah, Aiden Mahaney's a phenomenal. He's special, dude. 25 points, 9 of 19 from the field, 5 of 10 from the three-point line, 4 rebounds, couple assists. Yeah, he's special. Once New Mexico gets Jalen House back, House and Mashburn, I wrote about New Mexico in the magazine. I think they could be really talented. I think they could do some really special things in the conference this season, but they can't do it without Jalen House being there. So it looks. I hope to see him come back very soon.
Tell me if I'm telling lies, DeRosa. Did that camera not pop up literally on the broadcast and say battery camera low?
That's so funny.
No, it
love
did.
that.
Yeah, I wish I had my laptop on. It was screen recording the whole thing, just to like. God, that was an experience. It tells me that I need to get back. Yeah, I need to get back my OBS pulled up and just start screen recording the dumb things I see in this sport. We're so fucking back, man. That was
Yes.
so stupid.
He-
We pay for that
I
money,
know.
real human dollars.
And it's so wild because it was New Mexico's a top 40 ball club, top 50 ball club. St. Mary's is inside the top 25. You would think that they would have some people out there that was better than a high school production for a ball game of this magnitude on a Thursday night. That was the marquee game on a Thursday night. Like, what else did they have to do? Like, I don't get it. ESPN, give us a call. Here at ECB or Ding and DeRosa or House or whoever, we'll get you a production team together and we'll get you set up right next time.
Yeah, ESPN, like Tony Bennett said, do your damn job.
Yeah, do your damn job. The other one I want to touch on was also out on the West Coast. San Diego State takes an L at home to BYU 74-65. Full disclosure, I had went to bed by the time this game ended, so I did not get to see the ending. But incredible win for BYU. Michael, your thoughts on this one? I know you talked about just a little bit, but is San Diego State going to take a regression step back after the national title game appearance last year? It almost seems like that's kind of the deal. Like it's almost inevitable that they're going to take a slight step back this year.
I did not have San Diego State winning my Mountain West. I think that was a take I had in the offseason that people were like, I remember Chris, I said it. He was like, whoa, big fella, like calm down here. I had Boise State. I had Boise State winning this conference. I really like this Boise State team. This game definitely doesn't change my opinion on that. That's for damn sure. I still think Boise State wins this league. That said, I think the big takeaway for me is one, San Diego State can hit a jump shot. It's still going to be a question with this team. Lamont Butler was 2 of 4 for 3, but other than that, the rest of the team combined for doing the math in my head right now, 3 of 14 from deep, 8 of 13 from the line. They weren't dominant inside against a really small BYU team. Like BYU won the rebound battle 42-32. Vicini Traore is their starting center. He's 6'6". Spencer Johnson was able to have 7 boards, but when BYU has a point guard, they're going to be a lot better. They did not have a point guard last year. Like they ran the Rudy Williams, the Coastal Carolina transfer at the 1 last year. He was not a 1. He was a 2. He was a straight 2. Not even a combo guard. He was a straight 2. So now they have Darren Hall. He's like an actual 1, 4 of 8 from 3. Was able to run the offense, 3 assists. Like, I mean, he had 4 turnovers, but like that's against San Diego State's length. But he was actually able to like run the offense and affect the game like a point guard should. And I think that really that gives this BYU team another dimension that they needed. They're going to be able to run 5 out and space you out when they go Traore out, when they have Khalifa on the floor, who granted only played 6 minutes. But BYU might be like half decent. It's also a hard place to play at home. And San Diego State, Trammell was hurt. So he was coming back from a concussion. He didn't play in their opening game. He played 20 minutes off the bench here. So I'm not going to overreact too much to this game, but I stand by my Boise State take, and I like it.
Couple things on the San Diego State squad. One of them he mentioned, they were 5 of 18 from the 3-point line. They couldn't score. Shots weren't falling for them. That has to change, especially going on forward if they want to have a decent year for the rest of the season. I do think they got the talent. Defensively, they're always going to be pretty solid. Just offensively, they need it to step up. They need to be more consistent. That's a main key for me from this team. Also, the bench really didn't give them anything either. Only 9 bench points. When you look at BYU, it was all their bench points. 42 points came from BYU's bench. That's incredible. They dominated the rebounding battle, 42-32. They won. They had 26 points in the paint. They didn't turn the ball over that much. I think BYU played exceptionally well. They shot 37% from the 3, hit 10 of 27. I thought BYU played very well, and they were definitely very in control of this game, especially like the last 8 to 10 minutes. They played really well.
Yeah, completely agree. Good win for BYU. But what we're going to do now is we're going to take a quick pause, hear a word from our friends over Everything Pro Wrestling. When we come back, we got a massive week in college basketball, early week to come up. We're going to talk about it all, the Champions Classic, the Gavitt Games, and more after we come back from our friends over, or a word from our friends over Everything Pro Wrestling.
What's going on, Everything College Basketball listeners? It is Conrad Cushman here from Everything Pro Wrestling. Everything Pro Wrestling is a show by the fans, for the fans, where we talk pro wrestling every single week. Our current schedule is Mondays live at 6:05. We have Clash of the Podcast for myself and my co-host Sean Hubbard of Hubbard Wrestling Weekly go live to talk all the latest and greatest in pro wrestling. On Wednesdays, we are live after AEW Dynamite, a little after 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Everything Pro Wrestling YouTube channel as well. Make sure you guys come on over if you guys are fans of All Elite Wrestling. And we do cover some of the pay-per-views that happen over the weekends. Keep your eyes peeled for when we have those available as well. Thank you guys so much for listening to us talk about our schedule. Let's get back to my good friends over at Everything College Basketball.
Huge shout out to Conrad Cushman, the team of Everything Pro Wrestling. We've said they're our sister site since we started this thing. He kind of gave gave me the blessing to use the Everything moniker when informing ECB. So if you love pro wrestling like a lot of us do, EPW over at the Facebook group, on Twitter, and on the YouTube channel does incredible work covering it. There's a lot of pro wrestling to watch these days, and Conrad does it as well as anybody in the game right now. So go show some love over to Everything Pro Wrestling, support Conrad and the boys over there. But this week, everybody talking about the shitty slate and all this other stuff. Well, that's going to change because we've got Gavitt Games early week. We've got Champions Classic on Tuesday and a lot of high-profile basketball still to come this upcoming week in college basketball. Let's start with the Champions Classic. Let's start with the 2 games on Tuesday night up in Chicago, Illinois. And let's start with the first game of those 2. Number 3, Michigan State in the ECB poll, which is going to drop, but number 3, Michigan State plays number 2, Duke. Both have losses in week 1 already, both 1-1 on the year. This is going to be a high-profile game regardless of the record. The spread right now, according to our friends over at Shot Quality Bets, is Duke by 2.5. The over-under is 148.5. DeRosa, you're our guest today. I'll let you take first volley at this game. Give us your breakdown and predictions. Does Duke cover the spread at 2.5?
These were my 1 and 2 entering the season. They will not be my 1 and 2 coming into next week, but it's still high quality game. These teams are really good. I think the Filipowski matchup is a nightmare for Michigan State. I think they've got to prove a lot there. And Tyson Walker's going to have to go crazy, but Jeremy Ruch on the other end can put up with him. And I just think Duke has more consistent balance. Michigan State can hit a jump shot. They're going to need to be able to hit a jump shot to win this game. They have not proven to hit a jump shot. I really think this game plays out in Duke's favor. I think Duke wins just about every matchup. I think Filipowski's a nightmare. I think even Ryan Young off the bench can have an impact. little worried about hopefully guys like Mitchell and Proctor can step up, but I really think they can. There are some legit worries with this Michigan State squad. They have some proven to me to do, and I am going to need them to at least be competitive in this game. But I think Duke wins this game. I think Duke wins this game fairly comfortably.
You think they cover the spread of 2.5 then?
I think they win by like 7 to 10 points.
Fair enough.
Ooh.
Peyton?
This is a really hard game for me to predict because I really want to say Michigan State's going to win this game. I just don't feel too comfortable in that. I agree. I think Duke's too much for them. Filipowski's definitely going to be the best player on the floor. I think Tyson Walker will be the second best player on the floor. After that, I think Duke, Jeremy Roach will be the third best, and I think it goes on and on and on for Duke. I don't think A.J. Hoggard really needs to step up in this game to help Tyson Walker out on this one. If he does it, if he plays like he did against James Madison, then Duke's going to win this game by, I like that 7 to 10 point margin that Michael said there. But overall, I think Duke will definitely be the team to beat, and Duke wins this game. I say a little bit closer. They do cover the spread, but I say they win by like 5 points.
Yeah, I think we're going Duke all around here, and I do think they covered the 2.5. Michigan State, as you both have mentioned, just they struggle shooting the basketball. They're struggling scoring in general. You look over at shot quality bets and the breakdown here. In the half court, Michigan State through 2 games is averaging exactly 1 point per possession. That ranks them 143rd in the nation. In transition buckets, it's up to a little bit slightly up to 1.23 points per possession, which ranks them still lower, though, and 179th in the nation. But 23% of their points scored has been in transition, which is 7th in the nation. So there are 2 games, Michigan State struggles in the half court, particularly shooting the 3, where I mentioned it's only like 6.5% or whatever it is from 3-point. They're getting their buckets by forcing turnovers and getting out in the fast break. Duke, to me, is going to have to obviously rotate back. If they take long threes and miss, they're going to have to get back, sprint the floor, and cover the Michigan fast break. But I just don't know who the hell is going to guard Kyle Filipowski, because Mady Sissoko gets in foul trouble as easy as any big in the nation right now. And if he's isolated on the block against Filipowski is going to get 3 fouls on him in the first half, more than likely. You take Sissoko out, there goes rim protection for Michigan State, and it allows Duke driving lanes and kick and shoot 3-point attempts. I just don't know where Michigan State wins this game if they don't shoot the ball well. I think Tyson Walker is going to have a big game. I could see him 25 points again or more, but where's the offense going to come from? Izzo's not playing the freshman a whole lot. Cohen Carr is getting more minutes than Xavier Booker. I think Booker could be massive in this game with the athleticism at 6'8" that can run the floor and block shots and catch above the rim for lob dunks and all that. If he would play him more, I feel like he could have an impact, especially guarding some of the versatile Duke forwards. But he's shown through 2 games he's not playing the kid a whole lot. Cohen Carr is an athletic freak. I want to see more from A.J. Hoggard because Tyson Walker is doing all the scoring, it feels like. Hoggard is not playing well through 2 games. He's got to be big in this ball game if Michigan State has any chance. But I'm with you guys. We'll go clean sweep. It's going to be Duke winning this one. I've got to win him by 7 or 8 as well. I just think that they're going to be too much. Proctor didn't play particularly well against Arizona. I think he bounces back with a huge performance in this one, like a 15, 9 rebounds, 8 assists type of ball game, flirting with a triple-double. I think Proctor is going to be huge. And I think Duke wins, covers the spread at 2.5. And the over, what did I say? The over is over 148.5. I think that's under. I think it's under because I could see Duke winning this ball game something like 74 to 60, 74, 60, something like that. So I'm going under on the total point spread. You guys go over under 148.5.
Oh, under 100%.
I don't like that we all agree, so I'm actually going to switch to over solely because we all agreed.
Okay. Well, I'm switching my pick to Michigan State then. That way we can keep the trend going on then.
Oh, come on now.
I'm kidding. I'm going to. Duke and under.
Yeah, so I think we got Duke winning this one. I don't know where Michigan State's points are going to come from. Outside of Tyson Walker, I don't. But let's go to the other one I think is, to me personally, and I know Peyton, it's the bigger of the 2 games right now. Both teams unbeaten. the number 1 and number 2 teams all time in wins, all that. Kansas, number 1 team in the country, playing the number 14 ranked Kentucky Wildcats. The 9:30 tip. I hate these late games like this. Absolutely hate them. But DeRosa, you're kind of the in-between on this one because I'm Kentucky, Peyton's Kansas as far as fandom. So I'm going to let you take again first volley. Break this game down for us. The line is set at Kansas 5.5 points. The over-under is 150.5. Give us your breakdown because I think this is going to be a damn good ball game.
I think it's going to be a fun game. I'm very excited to see how these two teams look. Kansas' starting lineup, I think, is as good as any starting lineup in the country. With KJ Adams, Hunter Dickinson, Dwan Harris, you could go on and on. At least if they have Marco Jackson start, Nick Timberlake, doesn't matter who, doesn't matter. This starting lineup's legit. This team is really fucking good. And you look at Kentucky on the other side, Antonio Reeves looks excellent. And with Trey Mitchell's playmaking ability from the post, I think that changes a lot. That said, Kentucky's mainly freshmen, and I think they're going up against a guy who could be the best floor general in college basketball. I think Kansas controls this game, frankly. It's freshmen. And I think these freshmen are going to really have to prove it. And one thing I'm worried about with Kentucky is I don't know if any of them are really true point guards or like proven to be point guards yet. I know DJ Wagner's not a point guard. You need Rob Dillingham to really step up in this spot. Maybe he can, maybe he can't. And you need consistent scoring out of someone other than Antonio Reeves. We'll see what we can get with them. We'll see what they can get from interior play where I think they are weaker. And Hunter Dickinson's going to have a huge matchup advantage. Yeah, I think this game sets up really well for Kansas. I think Kentucky's going to be better as the year goes on, but they are not ready right now in my mind. I think this is Kansas. Fairly comfortably. I would lean Kansas covering the spread too. I'll take the chalk on the favorites.
All right. Well, I can't say you're wrong. Honestly, I really can't. The thing about Kentucky is through 2 games is you can tell they're starting to get their footing. The other night against Texas A&M Commerce, they allowed Commerce to hit 5 threes early on and went down as much as 21-8. They were down 13 points at home. Then they went on a run. The guy who sparked the run to Reed Shepherd, I think this kid has to start because you talk about point guard. He's not a true point guard, but he gives them so much when he plays. He brings serenity, calm, defense, shot-making ability, and he's a very underrated passer. You give him out there on the floor with Antonio Reeves, a combination of either DJ Wagner, Rob Dillingham, Trey Mitchell, and Justin Edwards. That is a very offensive-minded lineup that can play defense, just struggled interior defense where I'm going to lead to, where I think Kansas wins this game. Look at Kentucky's on shot quality, their points per possession breakdown on both ends. They are number 4 in the country right now at points per possession off of pick and roll ball screens because the versatility of a guy like Trey Mitchell at the 5 that can pick or pop, dive to the rim and post ups, and guys with ball handlers coming off. Kentucky's at any given time is going to have 3, maybe 4 different ball handlers on the floor, which makes it tough matchups. In the half court, they're scoring 1.03 points per possession in the half court, ranks 92nd right now. And in transition, they're much better at 1.53 points per possession, 23rd in the nation on that. The catch and shoot threes, they're 10th in the nation at that, getting 1.11 points per possession and catch and shoot threes. With all the perimeter guys, they do have better shooting around them. The thing I think where Kansas beats Kentucky, and I understand the experience factor, but the post-up game, because unless the NCAA says that Big Z is eligible or Aaron Bradshaw makes a surprise return for this game, Trey Mitchell is going to be at the 5, and Kansas is big inside with Hunter Dickinson. Defensively, defending the post-up through 2 games, Kentucky has given up 0.77 points per possession and post-ups, ranks them 138 in the nation right now. That's where, in my opinion, that's where Kansas beats them. I think guard for guard play, Kentucky has enough guards that can give Kansas a lot of problems, which especially if they're shooting the ball well. With Antonio Reeves, Trey Mitchell spreading Dickinson away from the rim, hitting threes on him, Justin Edwards, Dillingham has been phenomenal through 2 games coming off the bench. DJ Wagner's really struggled through 2, but we know the talents there. Reed Shepherd, as I mentioned. So there is shooting and ball handling all around on this Kentucky team, but it's going to be the interior play. They struggle without the big 7-footers, they struggle to defend the rim. They struggle rebounding the ball, and that's where Kansas is going to get them, I think. I think Kansas wins this game because of Hunter Dickinson and some of the interior play Kansas has. Will be able to get enough second shot opportunities or easy high lows that Bill Self likes to run. I think that's going to be the difference. Kansas wins this game in a narrow margin because I think Kentucky's going to keep pressure on them the whole entire game with making them guard small. I don't think Kansas covers. I think Kentucky keeps it under the 5.5, but I think Kansas wins like a 2 or 3 point ball game just because the interior play. Now, if this game was played a month from now and Kentucky has at least one of their 7-footers back, or maybe even both, the pendulum could swing a little bit and maybe Kentucky wins. But I just think Kentucky doesn't have the size right now. If they win, it's because they hit 11, 12 threes in this ball game and Kansas can't guard them out that far.
Okay, that's your analyst side talking. Now tell me what your fan side's telling you.
My fan side says that Kentucky carves them up. To be completely honest, I think.
Okay, I like that. Let's go.
Well, I mean, you want my honest fan side. My fan side said that Kentucky's guards with the multiple ball handlers, even a guy like Adou Thiero who didn't play Friday night because he's in concussion protocol, the dude's 6'8" and can handle the basketball and defend. I think that if we're talking fan side, Kansas has a hard time matching up outside of Kevin McCullough and DeJuan Harris. Those two will take probably Antonio Reeves and whoever the point guard is. But it's your other wings. Can Marco Jackson defend Justin Edwards, or can he defend Reed Shepherd even, or Rob Dillingham or whoever? That's going to be a tricky one. And Trey Mitchell pulling Hunter Dickinson away from the rim and hitting threes. My fan side says Kentucky wins this game, but my analyst side says they're too big right now. Kentucky lacks front court depth. And as I just gave you the stats, the post-up factor, Kansas is going to win. But my fan side said Kentucky can spread them out and give them real problems on the perimeter.
Okay, there's a reason I wanted to ask you that, because I'm about to do the exact same thing. First, let me give you my analyst side right here. I think Kentucky has a very talented team. Obviously, yes, they are backed by a lot of freshmen, but I think a lot of these freshmen are high-level players, and I think in a game like this, we've seen it before. I've seen Tyrese Maxey in this Champions Classic drop 25 against Michigan State. I've seen Andrew Wiggins drop 20-plus on Duke against Jabari Parker. I've seen all these high-level freshmen in games like these in Champions Classic step up when the moments count the biggest and when the lights are the brightest. So I think one of those freshmen, whether it's Dillingham, Justin Edwards, DJ Wagner, whoever it is, I think one of those three freshmen can have a big game and really step up. And I think overall Kentucky is a very talented squad, and I think they will produce some problems, specifically in the post-up game. If you get Hunter Dickinson in foul trouble, if you take him out of the equation, then that's more into Kentucky's favor, because now that allows them to post up. Our depth in our front court isn't the strongest. KJ Adams is a really talented player, above the rim type player. He had 18 points in our last game, and I'm pretty sure all those points came from dunks, just from alley-oops and dunks. But you mentioned all the things for Kentucky stats according to shot quality. Let me mention some stats from shot quality for Kansas. We're first at finishing at the rim. 1.58 possessions we're finishing out the rim. We're the best team in the country at doing that. We're 51st in post-up play. We're 18th in PNR ball screens. We're 35th in cutting, and we're 122nd in catch and shoot from the three-point line. I think that's a major key to look out for, because we've talked about it before. Our three-point shooting has to get better. These first two games against North Central, and I forgot who, North Central and Manhattan, both of those games we shot over 10 threes per game. So I think that's a big key to look after. Made over 10. That's what I'm at. Made over 10 threes. Yeah. I think that's a big key to look after. I think Kansas covers the spread. I think we win this game, but I do think if one of the freshmen has a really good game and they can hit 3 points, or they can hit the shot, or they can hit outside shots from the 3-point line, I think Kentucky could squeak this one out in a very close game. Either way, I think it's going to be very entertaining. And I do think Kansas covers the spread due to late game free throws, and that kind of stretches it out, and that's why I think Kansas covers the spread. That's my analyst side. Fan side, real quick. You mentioned we're 1-2 in all-time wins. Y'all got gifted the number 1 spot, by the way. Y'all didn't do shit. We didn't cheat. Prove it. We did not cheat at all. Prove it. Show me the documents. Oh my God, pissed off. At the
I didn't have to. The NCAA
pissed
did.
off with the NCAA. They make dumbass rulings and all this stuff, and you know it. Okay, so don't get me started on the NCAA. You got gifted the all-time wins list leaders back. We're taking that very, very soon. So you can. I thought all this time when we eventually took it away from y'all didn't give a shit about it. It's funny when this news came out that you guys got gifted the all-time wins lead back, then all of a sudden Kentucky fans were back into my mentions gloating about this. I thought y'all didn't give a shit. That's one thing. Number two, Kansas, Hunter Dickinson's going to have a very good game. I think with him, I think he can have a double-double. I think he can have 20 and 10. I think DeJuan Harris is the best floor general, the best point guard in the country. I love Tyler Kolek, don't get me wrong, but I think all around when it comes to the point guard spot, said it last year, I'll say it again, there's nobody I want on my team more than DeJuan Harris. I think Kevin McCullough has a really good game. Getting to the rim, I think he's going to have about 15 plus in this game. I don't think y'all have an answer for him. I just think overall we're going to hit some threes. Nicholas Timberlake's going to hit some shots. Johnny Furphy, the Australian, is going to dunk all over your team. KJ Adams, what you going to do with KJ Adams? Nothing. That's what you're going to do. I think our depth, I think a lot of our Jamari McDaniel is going to come off the bench, play well. Michael Jackson is going to have a good game. I think overall Kansas just beats the shit out of Kentucky, and y'all freshmen can't hang with our experience. And Bill Self is the best coach in college basketball. You said that you were down 21-8 against Texas A&M Corpus, whatever the hell you played.
Texas A&M Commerce.
I wrote about them, and I still don't remember the damn name. I dare you to be down 21-8 against Kansas, because let me tell you something. Let me talk to you. You ain't coming back.
Well,
Rock Chalk Jayhawk, we cover the spread, and we win this game.
DeRosa, it's going to be hilarious when watching KJ Adams have to check Justin Edwards out in the perimeter. It's going to be fucking hilarious. As much as it's going to be funny watching them have to defend him in the interior, it's going to be funnier in hell when watching KJ Adams have to slide his feet and keep a guy like Justin Edwards in front of him.
It's going to be hilarious, DeRosa, watching Rob Dillingham shoot from 40 feet out because DeJuan Harris is pressuring him 94 feet and can't get the ball across half court. That's going to be really hysterical.
Can you guys have a live stream of watching this game together?
Dude, we've been through it for years now. When Kentucky wins, I don't really say, I'll give him some shit, but nothing crazy. And when Kansas wins, he does it back. Like we've got to that point. We're cool about it. Like we understand, but it is fun. Like we'll talk shit to each other, but it's nothing crazy. The over I do want to talk about for our betting people real quick is at 150.5. I think that's, to me, I think that's over. I think it's going to be a high scoring game. You guys take the over on that one?
Shit. I want to go under on that one.
Lean under, not confident, not going to touch it.
I'm going over. I think this is a game that ends something like 84-83.
I can see it.
So that's where I'm going over on that. Let's start getting a couple more of these. DeRosa, this is in your neck of the woods as far as covering the Big East play, the Gavitt games. I think this is the final year in this incarnation, right? This is we've got a couple major games coming up we want to talk about real quick. Michigan St. John's on Monday, tomorrow or today, if you're listening to this on Monday, whenever you're listening to us, Monday in Madison Square Garden. Michigan is currently a 1-point favorite according to KenPom, and DeRosa turned me on some games, so this would pretty much be the betting line when it comes out officially because it's not out yet. But Michigan's a 1-point favorite over St. John's. KenPom has them winning 77-76 in the Garden. Your thoughts on this? Because I think this is going to be a good ball game.
It's going to be a very good ball game. Doug McDaniel and Olivier Comlois have proven they're legit 1-2 at Michigan. Like, those two guys are playing really well. Doug McDaniel's playing really fucking well. That kid is really good. We did not give him nearly enough attention as media people coming into this season. We should have. We should have been turned up to that. That said, I don't really know how they match up with the full depth of the St. John's team. Like, St. John's got guys everywhere. Like, you got to fuck up. Oh my God, you got to focus up. Jesus, words hard on Danis Jenkins. You got to lock in on Jordan Dingle. You got to lock in on Joel Soriano inside. Like, you're gonna have to lock in on those guys. And I don't know if they have the pieces to do so. Like, I think Soriano should have a huge game. I don't think Michigan matches him inside at all. I think Dingle's really skilled. He hasn't really shown it in his first 2 games with St. John's. I think he's going to start showing it. They got good wings, St. John's, when they're fully healthy. I don't know how Taylor, if Luis is going to play, But I think this game sets up for St. John's. I think it's going to be a very good game. This one should be very fun, going on at the same time as the is it going on at the same time, or is it the day before the James Classic?
It's
Day
the day before.
Day before.
It's
Even
on
better.
Monday. Yep.
Even better. I'm going to miss most of it because of the Butler game I'll be at, but this should be a really good game. I do lean St. John's, though. I do think St. John's wins this game.
How about St. John's? As of time of recording here, they're 1-0. They've only played one game so far. Rick Pitino and the blowout win of Stony Brook played 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 people in this ball game. Now, obviously, he's not going to do that every game, but of the 13, 12 of them played at least 5 minutes. So do you think he's planning on just rotating bodies in and out and keeping them fresh early in the year? Because Dingle 20 in this game, Dennis Jenkins had, Dingle had 13, Dennis Jenkins 17, Joel Soriano 22, and Chris Leadlam, the Harvard transfer, 16. Do you think that he's just going to keep rotating bodies because he feels like he's got enough depth this year to do so?
100%. I think he'll make sure he can get more guys in and get some guys time. Like Sim Wilcher only played 9 minutes. He was a top 40 kid coming out of high school. So they're going to get some bodies in, but I don't expect him to go as deep as he went in the Stony Brook game. Like they were firmly in control of the Stony Brook game almost the entire time. So I don't know if he'll go as deep then. And if a guy like Sean Conway is starting, I feel like they'll rotate bodies in at that forward spot, or that, I guess he'd be closer to a 3, but I don't know. I just think St. John's has enough pieces, but they haven't looked great this season. I can't lie.
They also hit 11 threes, shot 50%, 11 of 22. 3-point shooting could be very, very interesting for St. John's this year. It's in the Garden, in the backyard. You know there's going to be a big Red Storm contingent there in the Garden. I initially said I was going to take Michigan because I think they've looked red hot against 2 pretty good teams. But I think you've talked me into it. I think I'm going Rick Pitino. Bright lights in the Garden, big-time performance. They've had a little bit of rest, more so than Michigan. And the bodies, I think Joel Soriano has a massive game, 25 and 12 type of night in this ball game. St. John's hits threes. I like the Johnnies to +1. I like them to cover their end of the spread and win this ball game.
Damn it. I really want to go Michigan here, but man, I can't go against Rick Pitino in the Garden, man. Like, if this was in Michigan, I would 100% go Michigan. I do think they got a lot of good pieces. They played well their first couple of games. Olivier Nkamhoua has been a stud so far. He's the one that tore Duke up last year in the tournament, had a really good game, and now he's coming over to Michigan, and now he's been playing pretty damn well as well. I really want to go Michigan, but with this being in the Garden, Rick Pitino, since St. John's backyard, I think St. John's would be too much. I think Serrano has a really good game. St. John's wins this game, and they win by 5 points.
So we got a Johnny sweep, and let's go to the other marquee one of the Gavitt games here. Number 6, Marquette on the road to Champaign, Illinois, at number 22, Illinois, where Illinois is a 1-point favorite. According to KenPom, 73-72 winners in their prediction model. I'm surprised by this, DeRosa, because I think Illinois is a good team. They have an All-American and TJ Shannon, but Marquette's really good. Like, really good. You know this better than anybody. I favor Marquette in this ball game. Are you surprised that Illinois is a 1-point favorite heading into this game?
I'm not stunned that KenPom has it like that, but at the same time, I'm not super high on this Illinois team. Like, I think I had him 5th when we did our Big Ten rankings on our show, Ding and DeRosa. Like, I'm not super high on this team. I think they have good individual pieces. The fit is something concerns me. Like, you have Terrence Shannon, TJ Shannon, and you have Marcus Damask. I think that's a really good 1-2 punch, especially when those guys are hitting. The rest of the roster, it's like, I don't know where they're getting a ton of shooting from. You need, like, something out of some of these guards. I don't know how the fit's going to be. And I think if you got a space eater like Dane Danger playing the 5 against Marquette, good luck. They're going to space him out. Oso's going to take the ball up the court, and it's just going to GG. That's it. Good luck stopping that. I think this matchup really favors Marquette. Marquette knows how to play together. Terrence Shannon's going to be a really tough matchup on the other end. They don't have the defensive stopper that they had in Omax Prosper last year. It's probably Joplin guarding him. We'll see how that matchup goes. Maybe Cam Jones. That's the one concern for Marquette, but I think Marquette's just about better everywhere. Point guard play is a massive advantage for Marquette. Inside, I think Marquette's going to be able to hold their own and space out Dane Danger. They're going to torch him in pick and rolls. You're going to have to switch off. You're going to have to go with maybe like a Coleman Hawkins or Luke Goody at the 5. And I think that throws Illinois off the rhythm. If Marquette's going to make Illinois adjust to Marquette, that plays in Marquette's favor in my mind. I think Marquette takes this game. I'm fairly confident in that.
I'm going to complete agreement, Peyton, with him, because Marquette through 2 games now, the opposition's not been the greatest, Northern Illinois and Rider, but they've put up 90 plus in both games. They're shooting 40% from 3, 63.5% from inside the 3-point line. They're 7th in offensive or adjusted offensive efficiency, and their time of possession on offense, they're playing lightning quick, getting shots up. 14 seconds on the average. It's 13th in the nation in the shot clock. So they're playing fast. They're scoring the basketball. They're spreading teams out, shooting it incredibly well from 3 in the first 2 games. Even though it's on the road and that's a tough environment, the Orange Crush out there in Champaign, I think TJ Shannon's going to be a matchup nightmare for them. But I think their offense is just going to put up so many points that Illinois can't stay stride for stride. I think Marquette wins and covers comfortably in this game.
Damn, was not expecting that. I'm going to disagree with both of y'all. This game's in Champaign, Illinois. It's not in Marquette. Illinois wins this game, and they cover the spread. What'd you say? They're a 1-point favorite? They cover the spread. I think Illinois wins this game. Tyler Kolek, I love him. I love what he's able to do these last couple of years for Marquette. I think this kid's a baller. He's legit. He'll talk some shit. I love everything about Tyler Kolek, the Tyler Kolek experience. Love this kid. He's going to have a phenomenal year like he did last year. But here's the thing. TJ Shannon's going to be the best player in the floor. He's an All-American type player. I expect him to go for 25 plus in this game. I don't think Marquette can match up with him. I don't think they're going to be able to stop him. I think Coleman Hawkins is having a pretty solid game. I think he's going to be a great complimentary piece for TJ Shannon. I think Sincere Harris, whether he comes off the bench or if he starts, I think he can frustrate.
Hold on. Harris is redshirt. He's taking a red shirt.
Oh, that's right. Okay. I didn't know that. But either way, but my sentiment still stays the same. I think Illinois wins this game. I think Dane Deja, I don't think offensively he's going to do much, but I think defensively he could give some problems with just his size and his toughness and him just being physical and Marquette's front court. Overall, I think this game's going to be really entertaining, but I do think obviously Illinois covers the spread, and this game's in Champaign, Illinois. I can't wait to watch this game. I think Illinois wins this game by, I'll say it's a close one. I'll say a 4-point game.
2 areas of concern for Marquette through the first 2 games. They're on the giving up offensive rebound percentage to opposing teams. Opposing teams through 2 games are averaging 35.6% of their possessions end in an offensive rebound. That's 273rd in the nation. Illinois can crash the glass, so they have to shore the defensive rebounding up. And also, Marquette's terrible from the free throw line right now, shooting 64.3%. They get to the foul line in tight games like this, they have to knock them down or Illinois knocks them off. But I think Marquette gets a nice win because they do spread Illinois out. Real quick, DeRosa, who wins the Big East Big Ten Gavitt Games Challenge?
I had it a split. I had it 4-4, just going through all the games. That said, if you're going to make me take a pick, I'll go with the Big East because I'm a Big East guy.
I say Big East as well, just because we talked about earlier about the Big Ten not looking the greatest through week 1. So I say the Big East. Peyton?
Oh, yeah, Big East.
Big East, I think 5-3 in this one. Let's start rounding this thing out. Let's bring in the new segment, Kenny Rogers Corner, the gambler segment of this. Now, keep in mind, as we record here on Sunday afternoon, a lot of these lines are not officially out for the games for Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday evening. So we're going to do it the best we can based upon KenPom and the lines that are out. Here's my Kenny Rogers Corner, my betting parlay for this early week slate of games. Take the Kentucky plus 5.5 points. Even though I said Kansas wins, I do think Kentucky keeps it within the spread. Kentucky plus 5.5. Marquette plus 1. I just talked about that. They win the game, so take them at the plus 1 underdogs. And Purdue plays Xavier. They're favored by 13. I say take Purdue in the spread in this one. I think they're going to absolutely run over Xavier, who I'm not high on this year at all. I think Purdue wins that comfortably by like 18, 19, 20 points. So Kentucky plus 5.5, Marquette underdog plus 1, and take Purdue to cover the 13 points for my 3-legged parlay.
Go ahead, Alexa.
Yeah, so I was just cooking up as we're speaking. I'm feeling fairly confident in my 2 Champs Classic picks. If you moneyline parlay them together, you're getting plus 146 on it right now on book. I don't know. Well, we ain't getting paid by them, so shit, I ain't gonna shout out their name. Yeah, minus 142 for Duke, minus 225 for Kansas. That pays out plus 146. That's saying it hits about 40% of the time. I think it hits more than that. I think those two teams, I'm fairly confident Duke and Kansas end up winning that game. And then the other one, the chalk donkey parlay. You mentioned Purdue. I think Purdue absolutely curb stomps Xavier. I don't think that game's any close. And another Gavitt game that I don't think is any close. I think Creighton absolutely curb stomps Iowa. I do not think those games are close. Bet a donkey, win 2.64 donkeys. There you go. You'll be looking good after you hit those two.
Well, like the gambler himself said, you got to know when to hold them. You got to know when to fold them. Peyton?
All right, before I give my bets, just a preferences, I don't really bet at all, so I'm a complete noob at this. So just bear with me here. I'm kind of just making some shit up. Y'all let me know if I'm doing good or just tell me I'm doing shit. I don't give a damn. Just so I can cover all the bases here, I'm taking the underdogs for both the Champions Classic games. Kentucky, I think they cover the spread. I think Michigan State does the same thing against Duke. Duke's what, a 3-point favorite, we said?
2.5.
2.5. Okay, yeah, I think Michigan State covers that pretty well. Just to, cover all the bases. Even though I said Kansas wins and covers the spread, even though I said Duke covers the spread, blah, blah, blah. I'm just trying to cover all the bases here, okay? Question, I do agree with the Purdue Xavier pick. I do think they cover the spread. I think Purdue just beats the shit out of Xavier. Xavier really don't have anything going on good for them as of now. I do think that one. Creighton and Iowa, I think Creighton beats the shit out of Iowa, so I agree on that one as well. Can I make a player bet? Question.
Throw it in. Yeah.
Okay. I think TJ Shannon has 30 points against Marquette.
Oh, wow.
I don't know what the line is. Yeah.
I was going to say, I don't know what that is yet because they're not out, but I think if you bet him at 30 points or over is probably going to be like a plus 750. So that's a lot of money.
A lot.
Yeah. That's a lot of money to this. So that's a 5-leg parlay. You throw in the TJ Shannon. If you bet $10, you'd probably win something like $300 or $400 back, depending. That would be incredible odds. Yeah. So there's the Kenny Rogers Corner. Last thing before we get out of here today, we got to bring back shout outs for the first time this year. I'll start. Caleb Love, shout out Caleb Love. Obviously, stat line wise, he didn't play the greatest game, but his maturity, he didn't take too many bad shots, and he locked in defensively and hit clutch free throws in a place that he absolutely hates, and they hit him back. Caleb Love, if he plays like that all year long, Arizona's Final Four good. Joe Octave for my friend Michael DeRosa from Holy Cross goes in to Hoya Town, puts up 33 points, 11 rebounds in the upset victory over the Georgetown Hoyas.
He played really well.
Joe Octave, shout out for breaking DeRosa's heart. And then PJ Hall from Clemson, 27 points, 9 rebounds, and a win over UAB. UAB is a good team. Clemson, we talked about it last week with Trevor. Clemson's going to be a good team competing for an NCAA title spot in the top 4 seed in the ACC tournament. PJ Hall is their best player, in my opinion, 27-9 in a slim win over a good UAB. So there is my shout out. First time this season.
Yeah, just want to make it clear that was a fuck you to Josh, not a fuck you to Joe Octave. Joe Octave played really good. I want to give full credit to the kid. He was awesome. The Air Force transfer. Fuck you for bringing that up, Josh. I got 2 of my own, actually. 2 mid-major guards. Number 1, let's shout out Tyon Grant Foster, coming off of some really bad injuries. Puts up 30 in his season opener against SEMO. Easy win against a team that, granted, isn't great, but 10 of 15 from the field, 2 of 5 from 3. Shout out to him. That's a big comeback off of injuries. He really never got it going at Kansas or DePaul. If he can get it going in this Grand Canyon team that has a ton of talent, they could make some. I think they could win that conference. And 2, let's go to a coach's kid. Didn't play for him. Transferred over to Monmouth. How about Xander Rice? 30 points in a win at West Virginia. 8 of 16 from the field, 5 of 10 from 3, 9 of 10 from the line. Coach's kid showed up. He showed up. He showed that he's legit. And Monmouth isn't as bad as I thought they'd be entering the season. They look good. They beat a West Virginia team that, granted, has a ton of shit going on, but that's Monmouth beating West Virginia. That's still big. So shout out to Xander Rice putting up a big 30 burger for your old man, making his job a lot easier. That kid can play.
I love that. And we forgot to put at the top of the show, West Virginia is one of those teams in the disappointing team of the week. That's a great shout. I forgot all about the Monmouth upset.
Okay, I got 3 shout-outs. First of all, let's start with James Madison. Probably the talk of the team, maybe the team of the week. They obviously go in to Michigan State and East Lansing, beat them in a very entertaining high-level basketball game. And then they go into Kent State, come back, beat them in double overtime at Kent State. 2 road victories back-to-back. What a accomplishment to start, or what a way to start the season for them. I think they're going to be really talented. Again, watch the battle for the the Sun Belt Conference this year between them and Southern Miss. I think that battle is going to be really intense and really fun to watch. So shout out to James Madison for doing some great shit in the first opening week of college basketball. Second shout out to Josh. You shout out Caleb Love. I'm going to shout out Kellen Boswell. This kid played phenomenal. He's starting to play really well. Obviously, he played really well against Duke. I thought overall he was their best player, and I think all around he's the best player, period, for Arizona going forward. Love this kid. He can score, he can defend, he can rebound, he can drop dimes. I think this kid's going to be really good, and I think he has a really bright future ahead of him. Last shout out. Shout out to Chattanooga for hopefully ending this Kenny Payne experience because I'm done with it. If you thought I wasn't going to mention this shit to start the show or this show, you're crazy. I know I got my Kansas hoodie on, but it's like most of you probably know, I am a Kansas fan, but I'm also a Louisville fan. I'm equal to both. Have been since 2009. This whole shit needs to end immediately. If I'm the AD, he's gone. He's already gone. Pack his bags and get the fuck out of here because this shit ain't working. Give the team to Nolan Smith. I know Danny Maney doesn't want it, so just give the team to Nolan Smith. He can't do any worse. I mean, I know we won our first game against – I don't remember who we even played. Oh, UMBC. That's who we played. I know we beat them, but still, we looked like shit. We was down 13 plus to them, and they eventually had to come back and got very, very lucky in that game to come back and win that one. And then we just get the shit kicked out of us by Chattanooga, who's not really a bad team. I'm not saying anything wrong about them, but like these are some quote unquote supposed to be bye games for us, and we can't win to save our damn lives. Home court advantage means absolutely nothing for this University of Louisville program. Since 1998 till 2021, in the month of November, Louisville was 59-0 in home games. We're 3-6 now in home games in the month of November. That is absolute bullshit. Get Kenny Payne out of there immediately.
That's terrible. Just last thing, I seen something on Twitter that was hilarious, and it said Kenny Payne's top 10 wins, and it only had 5 because he's only got 5 wins. And I seen another one from Kentucky. People are like, "Oh, Kenny Payne won those games, right?" Remember all that shit last year, but. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. We're back to our normal schedule of Sunday, Thursday, with Sunday being the premiere episode of Everything College Basketball. That's why we go a little longer. Thursday being the midweek where it's a little shorter, but covers more of the ground from the earlier week. We got a big week of college basketball coming up. We've got the Gavitt games. We got the Champions Classic. So we're going to have a lot to talk about in episode 163 on Thursday. And before we get out of here, I just want to say James Madison has a chance to be what Wichita State did from a decade ago. You look on KenPom, they're favored the rest of the way, potentially going 32-0 into the NCAA tournament time. Keep an eye. I know there's fatigue and people trying to poo-poo on the fun, but there's a legit chance they could be like Wichita State from a decade ago going to the NCAA tournament undefeated. With that being said, we hope, well, it's not likely, but they are favored and there's a chance. So keep an eye out on that. We might have a new Wichita State brewing, but I hope you guys enjoyed this. We're so glad college basketball is back. A lot to cover. Can't wait to talk Thursday. Looking back at the Gavitt games, the Champions Classic, and all that. A lot of big-time basketball still to come. We hope you guys enjoyed this. Thanks to our friend Michael DeRosa from the Ding and DeRosa podcast. Go check that out. It's on Apple, Spotify, anywhere you can find it. Go check out all of our work over at the House of College Hoops on house-enterprise.com, the Road to the Garden, etc., etc. We hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and we'll catch you Thursday when we talk Champions Classic, Gavitt games, and everything in between. Wrapping up episode 162 for Michael, for Peyton, Trevor, and Phil, who weren't here today. We appreciate you, and we will catch you down the road.